have amazing one-on-one clients, and I want to grow that to the place that I have a waiting list.
This is not like a waitlist problem. It's a communication issue. How do we get people ready? Sometimes we just have to step back and take stock of like, what the hell am I actually doing? Let's simplify. Let's solve one problem at a time. Let's add more simplicity, joy, flow.
That's the word, simplicity.
All roads should lead to the $1 million that you want to hit as like the first milestone. $1 million is the floor. It is not the ceiling. That is the beginning.
You want to make more money? You are in the right place. Welcome to the Hello 7 podcast. That's 7 as in 7 figures. I'm your host, Rachel Rodgers.
Welcome back to the Hello 7 podcast. I'm delighted to be here again for another coaching session. And today I have my client, Po, and she's going to tell us what her problem is. Before we go any further, I've got something that's going to help you make those $1 million moves. Trust me, this is the game changer you've been waiting for, so stick around. On September 26th, we're hosting the $1 Million Coach Summit, a one-day all-access pass to the strategies and secrets working right now in the coaching industry that will work next year too. Imagine getting set up to win in 2025, learning what makes a 6- and 7-figure coaching business work, plus the mindset shifts and action steps to make it all happen. The summit takes place online, so no travel, no hassle. Just pure, concentrated growth for just $97. Don't be the one who hears about it afterward and wishes they'd join. Be the one who shows up, takes action, and gets results. Go to hello7.co/summit and secure your spot now. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. I will see you there. So, Po, what is your problem?
Well, Rachel, I'm so happy to be here, first of all. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
My problem is that I have amazing one-on-one clients, and I want to grow that to the place that I have a waiting list.
Yes.
And first of all, I want to acknowledge the fact that I got clarity around my business big time from you and another coach. I realized that I was connecting different avatars under one brand.
Yes.
And I realized from experimentation as well as seeing what felt right in my body, in my business, to separate things. So now my personal brand is going to be more of this intimate, deep work with women, founders, CEOs.
Yes.
And then the other business that I'm creating is for people at a more accessible price, like a membership model type of thing, a program that's open enrollment and for microdosing. And so I was conflating all of it together, which was creating confusion.
Yes.
But I feel like going to ROI earlier this year in 2024 really helped me get clarity, because I knew that there was a part of me that wanted to connect with and support these powerful women that are very successful, high achieving, high performing, have it all, really. But the outer world was not resonant with their inner world. And I've been expanding that roster, and I raised my rates because you coached me on that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I have that effect on people.
It definitely worked, and I'm still in that process. But I realized that I've been trying to serve everybody, and that felt like too much for me.
Yes.
So I do have group programs that I'm considering easing out and honing in, because 80% of my business is with my one-on-ones. And I love the 80-20 rule, right? And so I want to focus in on that 20% that actually makes the impact.
Yes.
And I feel like the ripple effect that happens when working with these really powerful women, they get to ripple out into their worlds with their teams, with their family, with, politics, whatever it is that they're connected to, they get to be supported. And so essentially my vision is already starting to happen because I have these amazing clients that are in these roles.
Yes.
I want to grow it. I want to have a waiting list, and I want to be able to support them to really be in their own power and their freedom so that they can have that congruency between the internal and external. So
Yes.
I'm here to get your support, to learn what it is that I can do to make this vision a reality, not just for myself, but to serve even more
Yes.
of these women.
Yes. Well, because the more money we make, the more impact we're having, right? When you have a business like that, both are a mission-driven business, both are growing at the same time, right? So the more you make money, people think making money is selfish, but actually making money, it means that you're serving more people and more people are getting help and more people are then able to, have that ripple effect.
Yes.
So it sounds like your client is the strong friend, right? It's like call your strong friend, right?
Yes.
Like call the one who always is holding everybody else down. How are they getting support? So you're providing support to that person, which is great. So my question is, you mentioned the waiting list twice. What is it that you want? What is the significance of the waiting list? What does that mean to you?
It means that I know that I will have a certain level of security financially. I don't feel insecure financially. I have good savings. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years.
Yes.
So I know that I can always make money. I have
Right.
no doubt about that. And this is new for me. Like the work that I'm doing is relatively new in terms of this deep, long-term work with these one-on-one
Yes.
clients. So I just want to know that there's going to be that influx always ready. And also I want to increase my price. If I have a waiting list,
Yes.
that's going to also determine the increase of what I can charge.
Okay. Got it. The reason why I ask that is because sometimes we get attached to this like the waiting list or, when this happens, then I can do this is the story, right? So like when I have a certain amount of people on my waiting list, now I can raise my price, right? Versus I'm just going to go ahead and raise my price now. You see it? So like I'm always like, what is this waiting list meaning? Because sometimes we're making it mean things that like I have to hit this. We create these milestones or we create these barriers between us and what we want. And I'm like, okay, what is the most direct pathway to what we want versus creating a whole, can I just go direct up Fifth Avenue, right? Or do I got to make a left here, turn here, right? Make 3 other rights, stop at this store, stop at this park, and then I can get there, right? That's what we are essentially doing by saying, and usually why are we doing that, right? Because it's like in some way we feel not ready or we feel like we don't have permission or there's something there that makes us feel like, well, I have to do this first and then I'll be able to, So is there anything that you could identify like, why not raise your prices now? Why not believe that you can have all of the clients that you want to serve now? What is it that makes you feel like it's a later thing or it's something that it will be further away?
I feel like I'm good with the pricing I'm at now. As you're talking, what's coming up for me is that I want to know that there is a demand. And I think the issue, like the deeper issue, is that I find that people are more afraid or resistant to do the work that I guide them in.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that there's a wait list is just a indicator that that's people are willing to do that work. And so maybe that's the piece is like, how do I communicate or attract the people who are actually wanting to do that work?
Yes. Right.
Because it requires a certain amount of commitment to themselves.
Commitment, vulnerability, readiness, right? There's levels to this.
Yes.
And so like, not everybody, when your most basic needs are not being met, you're not thinking like going to the next level spiritually, going to the next level with like happiness and joy, right? Like you're like, I just need to pay these bills, So like there's a hierarchy of needs. And so once those, so those people, like someone who might be like a newer entrepreneur who's like just trying to make it happen and just trying to get to a place where they can quit their job and that's their current goal right now. Their goal is not optimizing life and inner peace and inner joy, right? Like their goal is like, get this money.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And we've both been there. And so that is not your ideal client, right? Your ideal client has already been there, done that. They already have a certain amount of success. And now they have time to go inward and say, okay, I've gotten to a place where the business is working well. I've worked myself out of certain parts of the business. I have a lot more free time or more time to look inward. And now I'm seeing like, oh, I've actually given all my focus and attention and energy to the business for quite some time. And now my relationships are suffering and my self-care is suffering. And there's other areas of my life that require a lot of attention,
Yes.
And like, I need to bring it back and get myself out of this cycle of overworking or being a workaholic. Like a lot of times it's healing from that, right? Like that's where your ideal client is at. So I think like, I understand the idea and the vehicle of the waitlist and I'm not against it, but I just don't want that to be like the thing that we focus on rather than what is the actual thing. Cause to me, this is not like a, waitlist problem, right? It's not about people not being ready. It's about like, okay, it's a communication issue. How do we get people ready?
Yes.
Right? Like, what do they need to know to say yes to working with you? Right?
Totally. That hits it right on the nail. And that really resonates because I have found sometimes that it's hard for me to communicate those things. And the reason why I'm able to attract the clients that I have gotten and work with now is because they've met me in person and they like me or they were referred to me.
Yes.
So, but in terms of like social media or like, putting myself out there and talking about it, it's different. And so, yeah, like I would love to communicate and let them feel like this is for you.
Okay. Awesome. So I'm glad we've identified the issue. Now I want to talk a little bit about like the makeup of your business. What level are you at, if you don't mind saying? What's your H level?
How long have I been in business?
Well, no, like H level is like revenue span. So like H1 is up to 25,000. H2 is up to 50,000. H3 is, 50 to 100. H4 is 100 to 250. H5 is 250 to 500.
H5.
And H6 is 500 and up. Okay. So you're an H5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you're at H5, I personally feel like when you're under $1 million, I like to see a focus, right, on your ideal client and your ideal offer. You can expand, and it's often true that you will expand, but that's usually closer to 8 figures. I think when you're under 7 figures, you got to focus because that's what's going to get you to 7 figures faster.
Yeah.
Just think about it, right? Talking to multiple different ideal client or client avatars at the same time, and then talking to them about like different offers at the same time, then doing the work of selling that offer at the same time. Then you have to deliver the offer at the same time, right? We're creating too much work, and usually we're a one-woman show, one-person show, or maybe a person and an assistant, right? It's usually a very small team doing a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
When you get to 8 figures, right, like then you have a bigger team, then you can have teams specifically around certain offers, then you can have the manpower, right, or woman power or person power to like actually deliver that work. But we create too much work for ourselves as solos in the early days. And trust me, I did it too. I had like 12,000 offers. And then I finally figured out, oh, this is exhausting. Let's not do that. Let's do one offer. And when I streamlined it and had one offer, of course, the business takes off because now everybody, like the ideal client knows what you do and knows how you do it, and specifically the problem that you solve. And that's all you talk about 24/7. And when you do that, that's going to blow up. Like sometimes when we take a step back, because we're just in the weeds, when we take a step back, we're like, oh, I am creating exactly what's happening, right? Like the results you are creating by design, even when you don't realize it, So a lot of times it's like, oh, I'm talking to different people. That's why I'm getting a trickle of each of these different people, right? Whereas if I was talking to one main person all the time, now it's like instead of just every third or fourth message is speaking to them, every day, every message is speaking to them. Now it's like they're faster to say yes.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah. So sometimes we just have to take a step back and take stock of like, what the hell am I actually doing?
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing?
I mean, that has literally been my question. What am I doing? Like, I know what my work is and what I do.
Yes.
But like that part, right?
Yes.
That part is really the thing that I have kept like hitting against over and
Yes.
over again. And so I would love to like get clarity around that.
Yes. Okay. So I here's what I feel. I feel like let's talk about how much you want to make. Where do you want to be? Like, how much do you want to make and how many clients do you want to be serving to make that amount of money? I want us to let's get to the math equation of your business, and then we'll back our way into what is the strategy that's going to get them there, right? So we always start with the math equation, right? Like, how much do I want to make? And, how much am I going to charge? And then based on that, right, like we're just going to do some simple math and we'll figure out, okay, I need this many clients, right? If I'm charging this and this is the end result dollar amount I want to make, then I know I need 100 clients, 50 clients, 10 clients, right? 1,000,000 clients. We don't know, right? And that's how we get there. Business is literally a math equation. And if you don't know the math equation in your business, that's why it's a hot mess. Okay? So always start with the math. It starts with math, right? Then once we know it, then we know, okay, this is the work I need to do to make that math work.
Okay.
So let's start with how much do you want to be making? Like, what would you you'd wake up and be like, I'm delighted that I'm making this amount of money.
Okay. So,
and I'm talking about top line revenue, not what you take home.
okay. So there's two parts. So my personal brand, I would love it to be a 7-figure business, like a 1 million.
Yes.
And then the other business that I was talking about where I'm going to actually scale because I hired a support coach, which was partly from your teachings.
Yes.
Because at first last year, I was not thinking about scaling. I wasn't thinking about hiring help, nothing. I was literally just like in solopreneur land.
Yes.
And so in terms of that business, I want to grow that to like multiple 7 figures to potentially like an 8-figure business.
Okay. All right. ROI, the Millionaire Summit, is back for the third time. It's happening in January 2025 for entrepreneurs that are looking to grow a 7-figure business and beyond. We'll have amazing speakers, incredible networking, lots of connection, community, and fun, and actionable steps that you can take to get a return on your investment in this amazing event. It's all happening January 15th through the 17th in Orange County, California, right outside of LA. So easy to fly to. And what's really special about this year is that we are including luxury accommodations with your ticket. That's right, you don't have to pay an extra fee for a hotel room. It's all included in your ticket. But these rooms will sell out and tickets are going fast. And the price goes up every week. So you will be rewarded for taking quick action. So make sure you go to hello7.co/ROI to get your ticket now. So why is it two separate parts?
Okay. So I thought that my personal brand could be focused on this high touch, intimate, deep relationship with my clients. And because I consider myself, even though I'm like a transformational coach and somatic healer and a microdosing guide, I really consider myself in those relationships as a trusted advisor.
Right.
Spiritually, holistically, emotionally, all the things. And then I was thinking with the other part of the business, since I'll be scaling it and I have a coach, then that's literally focused on microdosing only, like for the nervous system work and really helping people on that level. So I wanted that to be not have my face attached to it, essentially.
Why?
Because then I thought, okay, I would be speaking to two different ideal clients because it's not necessarily the same problem.
Yeah. Well, what's the difference in the problem?
The people who would be going to the microdosing program, they are focused on healing their anxiety, their depression, ADHD, because microdosing helps to rewire your brain and your nervous system and helps with creativity and flow and all these other things. But I find that the masses need a lot of support. And so I want to serve them on that level. Those people that we were talking about that need the more on the ground work of like survival stuff,
Yes.
essentially, if I had to summarize it. And then I feel like for my personal brand, yes, they could be in their own survival in their own way, even though they're super successful.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I find that these women are a lot of times in functional freeze,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even realize it.
Yeah. To me, I was like, I know that ideal client, and I feel like I used to be that ideal client, and I feel like it's a similar problem as the one that you're solving in the membership community. So it's basically they're just in a different place. Like maybe because they are more of a public figure, in a lot of cases, they want something more intimate because they don't necessarily want to be on Front Street healing in a large group, you know? Is that right? Do you feel like that's right?
I think that, yeah, the work, like the framework, by the way, I created my framework because of your program too.
Awesome.
Because before it was all in my head. And
Yes.
it was a lot of work to put it on paper and really organize it. So thank you for that.
Yes.
But yes, I feel like my framework that I've created, my methodology, really serves all the people.
Okay.
So I agree in that way. So maybe I have some kind of mental block around it because there would be two different offers that are very different price points.
Yes. Okay. So here's what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is that you're overcomplicating things
Okay, great.
and making them hard.
Okay, that sounds like an easy problem to solve, maybe. I hope.
Well, it's easy. It can be easy. It's just about being decisive about it and
Okay.
making a decision. And so for those listening, like, just so you know, so framework meaning that you have a methodology, you have a process. And many of us, if you're a service professional, right? And even with products sometimes, you have a process or a framework that you use that you take people through that is proprietary. So one of the things that we do at Hello 7 when we are coaching our clients is helping you to identify what that framework is so you understand what your intellectual property is, what your proprietary system is, and then you can protect it. And then you can also identify it and teach to it, right? And the beauty of having that framework too is that you can then teach other people, right? You're teaching your clients, you know, about your framework and how you help people, but you also can use it as a training tool for your team members, right? For employees, for other coaches, for anybody, or other service professionals that work for you. So it's an important element of scaling, right? And so Poe has done that work. I just wanted you to have that context. So you have that framework that applies to both of these clients, right?
Yes.
So there's a couple of different options, right? But for sure, we need to simplify.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Okay. So in the microdosing program, they're not going to go through that framework. It's another process. So that's the only thing.
Is that framework like operating in the background in some way? Like, is that guiding how you're
No.
generating the work?
No.
Okay. So the framework is specific to the clients who are
Working with me.
Right.
Versus my support coach.
Okay. So I would look at that and say, I want you to simplify, right? And make this easier. Oftentimes we're like, I can't, we can't keep up with like one social media account, but we create two. Like, here's the business one, here's the personal one. Why? We can't even keep one of them populated. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with business. It's like, it's you have a coach. Who else is on your team?
I have a business manager.
Okay. So 3 people on the team?
Yes.
Okay. So 3 people on your team and you're creating 2 businesses for those 3 people to run versus just having one unified business that has a clear plan that all roads lead to X, right? So all roads should lead to the $1 million that you want to hit as like the first milestone, right? And then once you hit $1 million, then all roads lead to the 5 or 10 million, whatever the next milestone is, instead of having this road's leading over here and this road's leading over here. And then that's why you're moving slow, right? So even when you're making progress, right, you're making slow progress because we're not like streamlined.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay. So I know you've talked in your trainings about creating a business that could potentially be sold.
Yes.
And so that was also my thinking around that microdosing program business, is that growing it and creating it with the intention of potentially exiting it at some point too.
Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. I want us to be doing the right things at the right time.
Okay.
right? So sometimes it's like you're doing the right things, but I think in the wrong order, you know? And so like you're thinking about like, first let's get to you having that financial security that you want, right? And we can do that in a way that sort of lays the groundwork for you to have a business that you could sell eventually. But if you focus on selling now, you're missing the point of the financial security that you want right now also. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like one thing at a time.
Okay.
Got
it. Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, because that way you can, you can focus your business on this goal, milestone, and then you focus on, okay, now how do we make it scalable? To me, the scalable conversation should come after $1 million.
Okay.
Right? So it's like $1 million. Can we make $1 million the floor, y'all?
How to be a millionaire.
$1 million is the floor. It is not the ceiling. That is the beginning. That's where we have extra money to invest, where we can create more assets, where we can hire more team, where we can really build up the brand, right? So like that's when the party begins. So it's like, let's get there as quickly as possible, in as simple a way as possible. And then when we're at $1 million, we can say, okay, now we have, first of all, financial security. We have money to invest. And so we can say, okay, now where are my opportunities? And now where do I want to scale, right?
Yes.
And of course, at Hello 7, we teach you how to build the brand from day one with scalability built in so that that transfer from, okay, I've taken care of myself, now I want to scale to the next level is easy.
Right.
Right? But like, let's engineer, let's keep the main thing, right? Which what you said, right? The reason why you keep mentioning Waitlist is because you want that financial security. You want to know you have, clients waiting for you,
Yes.
right? So let's do that first and check that box first. Sometimes we're trying to do too many things at one time. And trust me, this is my life. I'm an Aquarius. I'm like, like in the middle of 7 different things, trying to feed my kids and like do my hair and like whatever in the morning, you know? It's like, and it doesn't work, right? So I have to stop myself. My stylist actually just taught me this the other day, una cosa a la vez. Right? One thing at a time.
Yes.
And he literally said this to me because I was at the hairdresser talking about multiple things at one time. And he's like, una cosa a la vez. So let's simplify. Let's solve one problem at a time. Let's add more simplicity, joy, flow.
That's the word, simplicity. And that was literally the word last year that I kept on feeling like I want to simplify, and it's still too complicated.
Yes. It's like, how can this be easier?
Yes.
Let us ask this question.
Oh my God, yes.
And make that a requirement, right? Like constraints are good. My goals are, I want to make $1 million. I want to have an impact, right? And it needs to be easy, right? It needs to feel simple. Make that the goal, and then we can create a plan that does that, right? You can create a plan that can do anything that you want it to do, right? You just have to decide what is your focus, right? So if you want simplicity, you want financial security, you want to be doing this impactful work, great. Those are the requirements. Now let's look at what you have right now and say, okay, what's our simplest, easiest way to get there, right? And allows us to check all those boxes.
Perfect. I'm down.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. So now I want to ask you, my question is, right, who is the membership for? The lower level program, who is that for?
That is for the people who, don't have the finances to work with me. And the depression is taking over, like they're stuck, the anxiety is taking a hold of them. They're overwhelmed all the time. The ADHD is keeping them from really being able to focus on what's important. So I would say those are the main things.
Okay. And that the one-on-one clients is the majority of your business right now.
That's what brings in the majority of my income.
Okay. And so for the clients that you're serving in the membership community, is there a lot of them?
Well, I haven't started it. That's actually in the process. I just hired my support coach.
Okay.
I actually just, sold my first package for one-on-one for her. So it's all in process.
Okay. So if it hasn't started yet, I want you to put that on the shelf.
Okay. For how long? Because I already told her that we're doing this.
Plans can change. No, the reason why I say that is I think you need to solve this first problem first. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to have an overflow. You're going to not be able to serve everyone one-on-one. and then you're going to have to use the membership, right? There's also a possibility that you merge one-on-one and the membership into one thing. So let's look at that.
Okay.
And see like what are our options to simplify this.
Okay.
And I think honestly, the biggest issue, right, we said is communication. You need people because even the person that is spending less will still have questions, right? Because this is serious. It's like, it's an intimate service that you're providing. It's a problem that they've been dealing with for a long time. They might have tried a lot of other things that didn't work, right? So there might be a lack of trust there just in general because so many things haven't worked for them.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how can we ease all of that for whatever level your client is at so that they understand? Because probably people listening right now are like, what is microdosing? How do you solve this problem? Like, what do you actually do? How did you get certified in this? Like, how do you know how to do this, right? And like, what results have clients got? Like, there are probably so many questions.
Right.
So where can they go to get those answers? Like, how are you marketing now? And how are people learning about you and what you do and how you do it now?
So I just created a lead magnet.
Yes.
Information, like the ultimate guide to microdosing.
Awesome.
So it's a free thing that people can get on microdosingintro.com.
Awesome.
And so that's the beginning to build up my list around that.
Yes.
So people, they're trying to Google it and Google can't give you all the answers.
Yes.
So that's the beginning.
Okay. So they go to the microdosingintro.com.
Yes.
And that's where they can get your download where they can educate themselves.
Exactly.
Okay. How are they getting to that? Like, how are you sending traffic to that website?
This is all new. So I literally just created it.
Okay.
So we're like brand spanking new.
So the clients that you've gotten so far, you said you have 3 ideal clients that are that high level client that you really love to work with. How did you get those clients?
One is a referral.
Yes.
The other 2 were in-person networking events. One at your ROI event.
Awesome. Okay. So you met one at ROI, you met one at another networking event, and then the other one was a referral.
Yes.
Okay. So the reason why that is because you don't have a way for people to learn about what you do right now. So we need that.
Okay. Yes.
So what feels good to you from a marketing perspective? Like, how would you like to educate people? How do you like to show up? Do you love to write? Do you like video? Do you feel like you maybe a podcast? Like, what different mediums do you like to communicate and educate in?
So
or in person.
I mean, I would love to do in person. That's not something that I feel set up at this point to create. I would love to be invited into spaces to educate or do workshops.
Well, why are you not set up to create?
It feels like a big lift to create an in-person event.
It's a big lift to create anything. It's a big lift to be an entrepreneur for 20 plus years. Girl, let's not create barriers.
Okay.
Yeah. You could do a live event and it could be easier or it could be complicated, right? Like ROI is a big conference. That's a lot of work, right? But my first events were like an evening, I did it at a place where it was like at a bakery. So we were like sat and did coaching and then we made cakes. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Kept talking. Like it was so simple,
that.
So you can do anything in between.
I think the first place I'd like to start would be YouTube. That really has been the thing that has been calling me.
Yes.
I have a podcast that I'm ending at the end of this month, and I want to step into the YouTube world because I know it's just a very powerful search engine.
Okay. Podcasts are powerful search engines too. And a great medium to put on YouTube is a podcast, right? Like that's exactly what we do here at Hello 7. So tell me, like, what is the podcast you have now?
So it's called Tao of Po, and it's not honed in on this topic. It's about healing in general. So it's just all a range of topics that I'm inspired to share. So maybe I could create a new podcast with a new brand that's focused on microdosing.
Okay. However, why not keep it the Tao of Po and just change the focus?
I guess I could do that too.
Like, so just always say no to whatever might be hard.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
I feel like you're attracted to the hard, which I can relate to because I used to be too,
It's so funny to hear you say that because I never saw myself as that person that would be attracted to the hard because I follow, create flow in my life. But I think there's something around this business because my last business, I was an acupuncturist. There was no hard.
Yes.
So I think there's something around having an online business and it's a whole nother animal.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And sometimes we can have this story that like, if it is not hard, if it's not difficult, it's not going to be successful. Right?
Yeah.
How many of you have that story where you tell yourself, oh, if I'm not working hard and working late and it feels difficult and challenging and I'm losing sleep and stress, like if that's not happening, then it's not going to be successful, right? So you have this story, and then that story, you just wind up choosing all the hard things because it's like there's some story there like making money can't be easy. And that's really what so many of us believe, like making money has to be hard. And it's like, girl, it could be so easy. It's just a choice. You can make it difficult to make money or you can make it easy to make money. Right? Like both are available to literally all of us. And we just choose the hard way because that's what our beliefs have capacity to handle, right? We only can believe that we can make money if it's hard. It's really hard for us to understand and trust and believe in the concept that making money can be so simple and easy. But it's true. Literally.
I feel like you like totally unlocked something for me because I did not see this pattern at all.
Awesome.
Because I really felt like, okay, things have really flowed for me in a lot of ways. But I want to switch this part off and do it differently.
Yes. And like going to the next level is like, it's looking for where do I not have flow? Right? Where is the flow lacking?
Yeah.
Right? Or where does it just feel like it's not feeling as flowful as it could? We can have more flow. It could be more flowful.
Yes. Bring the flow.
Yes. And so like coaching doesn't have to be, as you know, right? Like, oh, my life sucks. And now because I'm coaching, it's better, right? It's like, no, it's looking for what are all those little even micro areas where just a simple shift, right, can unlock something and just bring everything to the next level.
Yes.
So, and that's the goal of what we're doing here. So the Tao of Po is your podcast, and you're like, oh, it's about something totally different. It's about healing. And I'm like, wait, isn't all your work about healing? Or did I miss something?
It's all about healing.
I'm like, I think it's the same.
I think it's like getting all these messages around like, okay, the name of the podcast should be, have the name that people search for. Like people don't know what the Tao of Po is, like what the focus is on. So I think maybe that I've been allowing certain things that I've heard to impact me.
Yes. But I think to me, that sounds like a powerful brand. Because what other brands do you have operating? Like, what are the other brand names that you've operated
That's
under?
it.
Tao of Po. Yeah. So teach people what it is, right? Like with the Hello 7 brand, when they hear Hello 7, they're like, like they might have an idea. It makes them curious, but they don't know what I'm saying is Hello 7 figures, right? We had to teach that. And so, when you have a brand, that's what it is. But Tao of Po is interesting. Like, I'm like, what does that mean? Tell me more about that, right?
Yeah.
And you feel like it's giving you something like around, is it related to Chinese medicine? Is it related to something calming? Is it related to something peaceful, spiritual? Like you get the vibe of it, even if you don't know exactly what the words mean. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you want a brand to do is like foster enough curiosity, give a sense of what this might be about so that the person is like coming towards you and saying, ooh, I want more. Versus if you explain it all, it's like, okay, well, I'm instantly bored. You know what I mean?
Wow, I never saw it that way.
Yeah. So you are onto something with what you're already doing. Trust the past you that made that decision, right? Instead of, I think we like keep creating scenarios for us to make a lot more decisions than we have to do. You already created the brand name. Let's stick with it.
Okay.
Right? And let's give it legs because a brand becomes more valuable the longer it exists. And the longer it is nurtured and continues to be like propped up and spread, right? And if you change it, now it's like it cuts off the life of that brand and all the work that was done before that and starts anew, right? And there are times and scenarios where, yes, that is necessary, but if it's not necessary, let's not. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Let's make it easy. That's the theme.
I want easy. Yes.
Yeah. So let's stick with the Tao of Po.
Okay.
And what if you just stuck with the podcast and now come up with a new concept or flow for the podcast where you are educating people on what they need to know to be able to make a buying decision with you.
Okay.
That's what we want, right? So how can you teach people about what microdosing is, anxiety, ADHD, talking about all of these symptoms that you treat, right?
And maybe like talk about the parts of my framework, I guess.
Exactly. Talk about your framework. You could have clients on, right? And, people can see how you work with clients, right? There's so many ways that you can showcase your work and make it educational, valuable, entertaining for people, so that people get to see what it's like to work with you. And so the mystery is gone. And they're like, not all of the mystery, but there's enough there that they're like, okay, I'm interested. And now I'm less afraid to say yes because I've seen what it looks like. You see what I mean?
Yes.
You could even have like a microdosing session that you are doing on camera, right? So like for people to see exactly what it looks like with a client, of course, who is willing. And what I would recommend too with the podcast is to do it on YouTube, right? So that your podcast is showing up just like us. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, right? And then also being on YouTube. So it's like one medium, one session that's everywhere, right? That you can pull the audio from it. You also have video from it. Again, work hard once is the mantra. So like you create that podcast and then, you can have social posts that come from it. You can have newsletters that come from it. So like everything can flow from this one medium that you're focused on. Make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Yes. And that's how you make it easy.
Can I ask you a question here?
Yes.
So because my clients range from don't have a lot of money, right, for the program aspect, and then the one-on-one, they have a lot of money. So do I speak to a specific type of, like to what person, or am I just educating on the things that you just mentioned?
No, on the podcast, you should be speaking to the client that can pay you. Right? If there's going to be clients that you want to serve that can't pay you, but again, they get to be served by the podcast that you're creating for free, right? By this microdosing paper that you've put together for them, right? And then also you may have other things in the future, right? Like, so again, it's solving too many problems at one time. Right? It's like, I want to solve, and this happens all the time, especially with us as women, because we just naturally want to take care of everybody.
Yes.
Right? Like it's a thing that we do. And it's not just women, but of course, women do it as well, do it the most. That's what stands out. But we can solve that problem. Like, for example, at Hello 7, because we are thriving financially as a company, now we're in a position to have the Hello 7 Foundation where we can serve people via the Hello 7 Foundation as well, right? So, but we can't take care of other people if we had no money to pay our own bills, right? If we had no money to pay our team, right? If we couldn't function as a company, then how can we possibly also serve other people, right? We have to stabilize ourselves first and, put your own mask on first. Then the impact you're going to be able to have is going to be so much greater, right? And you could even say, like, you are specifically serving wealthy women, right? So what if you just built it into the package and say, this is part of your package that your work, when you sign up to work with me, you are actually sponsoring a person who really needs my services but can't afford it, because we're going to take 10% of what you pay and invest it in someone who needs my services and couldn't afford it. Kind of like the business model where, like, Warby Parker, you're going to buy a pair of glasses and then someone in need is going to get a pair of glasses as well, right? Tom's, you're going to buy a pair of shoes and someone else who needs shoes is going to get a free pair of shoes.
I love that.
Right? And like, as a consumer, that excites us, right? Like we get to get this service, but we also know some of our dollars are going to help others as well. So you could create your business model to serve in that way and just make it has to make sense. If the math doesn't math, we don't get to keep doing this work, which means we don't get to have the impact, right? And we don't get to continue to serve in the way that we want to.
Yeah.
So let's not try to serve, like, if you're trying to create a successful business, serving clients who cannot afford to pay you, unless you have, like, then you have to get a corporate sponsor or you have to have another angle, right? Otherwise, it's not going to work. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So knowing that, what are your thoughts and reactions to that?
I feel like that's great. I love the idea of overflowing generosity because I'm all about philanthropy.
Yes.
So that just lands very good for me. And I'm sure that the women that I work with that are wealthy would appreciate that.
Yes.
And I can talk about that, and that can be, not that I would use it for marketing, but it's a good marketing point.
Right. It's a reason to choose you over somebody else, right? Who might be doing similar work. It's like, but I get to also serve, right? By doing this.
Yeah.
And it's also, telling her, communicating to that client the truth, which is that when you take care of yourself, you're now in a position to take care of others.
The whole ripple effect that we were talking about.
Exactly right. So you build your business around that. If that's a key element of your brand and it's important to you, you build that into the business model.
Okay. So my question is really around the communication, because that seems to be the main problem in addition to simplifying.
Yes.
So when I talk to that ideal client who is the wealthy powerhouse, do I say those things? Like, do I literally just say, like, you're a founder, you're a CEO? Like, do I name that, or is there other ways that I communicate it?
Yes, you do name it. And the way that you're going to communicate it is through the podcast, right? So if you create the podcast, like, then you start, how often do you publish right now?
Once a week.
Okay, great. So you're going to continue to consistently publish once a week, right? And then every week you're going to think about the topics of the podcast and talk about what is specific to the client that they need to hear. So I would maybe start with a series that's all about how to work with you, what you do, what microdosing is, how you got brought to this work, why this work matters to you, some of the stories from your clients that have been so transformational, right? Like, so it can be short episodes where you're just telling the stories of what it's like to work with you and why this work is important, how you came to it, stories from your clients, et cetera, because that's what's going to get people familiar and comfortable and to a place where they feel really good about saying yes to working with you. And there's less fear around that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I have another question.
Yes.
That's a little off topic in a way.
Okay.
So because I have those clients that have renewed with me, so they absolutely love working with me, do I ask them for referrals? Do I create a referral network for them? Because they obviously are probably connected to other women that would be potentially ideal clients for me.
Yes.
And how do you feel about that?
I think that's a great idea. I don't know that I would create a whole program around it right now because you don't want to have too many initiatives to work at the same time. Mm-hmm. You want to keep it simple, right? I want you to leave this coaching session with a short to-do list, right? So like, these are my key initiatives and I'm going to go do those things. And I don't want to add more to it. So I think with the referrals, what I would do is how can we combine that with the first, right? So say, could you have them on the podcast and talk about what this work has meant to them and how it has transformed their lives, right? So invite them to come on to the podcast and talk about the work that you did together, if they are willing, and if they're not willing to do that, ask them if they would give you a written testimonial, for example. That way you have a referral that's available to the masses, anybody who's coming into contact with your work.
Okay.
Yep. So I like that you have the landing page, like that's an essential piece, right? You have an opt-in for people to like learn more about you. So you're going to do the podcast, be consistent doing it every week, and then you're going to send everybody to the opt-in, right?
Yep.
But I would make sure that the opt-in is specific to this ideal client that you're going to work with one-on-one rather than to the client who is more of a membership. Right? So you might need to edit it or whatever, or just make sure that it's really targeted to them. Have all roads point to that client.
Yes.
Okay.
That's always been my issue. Yeah.
Yes. So keep everything focused on the main goal of the business, which is that we need to have a certain amount of clients, right? And so tell me a little bit about, let's get back to the math problem.
Okay.
So you want to make $1 million. How many clients, based on what you're charging, how many clients do you need to serve to make $1 million?
So I know if I served 8 clients, I would be a little bit over $500,000. So
16?
Yeah, and I
or
don't
15?
know if I want to do. That seems like a lot to do in terms of one-on-one. Because
Okay.
the space I hold is, we're going to sometimes doing trauma work, and
Yes.
so I want to also keep in mind my capacity.
Okay, great. So what is your max capacity? How many clients could you serve one-on-one?
I mean, I was thinking 8 to 10
Okay.
at a time.
So we got a couple options, right? So the options are you charge $100,000 per client for the year. What are you charging right now?
$60,000 for a year, or $5,500 a month, which is $66,000.
Okay. So if you went up to $100,000, you could serve 10 clients and make your $1 million.
Yes, I could.
Your eyes just got really big.
Yes, they did. And I'm kind of squirming right now. Yeah.
Yes. We've had this conversation before, though.
Yes, we did. And you helped me with that.
I know at ROI during the Golden Mastermind, we talked about it, and you did raise your price significantly.
Yes, I did.
But now I think if you want to make $1 million, it's time to take the next jump.
Well, can I ask another? Okay, so I do these deep dives that are $7,500 that a lot of my one-on-one clients also supplement with. So that also adds extra income.
What do you mean they supplement with?
Like meaning that's a different container and offering that they add on to.
Okay.
In addition to.
So I want there to be less containers and offerings.
Okay.
Okay. So instead of, this happens a lot, right? Where it's like, okay, I have this way that I work with people, but then they also add that. Then there's this other way over here, and then there's this other thing. It's too many things to deliver, too many things to sell. If you know the client is going to want all that, why not? Like in my mind, I'm like, why can't that client have the membership, have access to the support coach when you're not available? So that way that increases your capacity, right? Get the one-on-ones with you, and then also get the deep dive.
It's like create a whole package, you're saying.
Just create one package that includes all the things.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying? It's like when I go on vacation, I don't want to pay for the hotel and then pay separately for the food and then pay separately for the excursions. Just throw it all in. Right? Like I want to walk in and not have to think about my wallet just from a mental space. It's not even about like being charged multiple times. It's too many times I got to make decisions.
Right.
Make it easy for me.
Okay.
Like create an all-inclusive. You know what I mean?
Right. Because at this level, that's what it's about.
Yes, they're paying for a result, right? The result is that they're going to feel better. They're going to stop overworking, right? They're going to have more joy. They're going to see the parts of their life that were not serving them. They're going to take care of themselves better. They'll probably be sleeping better and all kinds of other things, right? Health things that are related to that as well, that they're going to get for $100,000 for the year. They're probably already paying that between gym memberships and personal trainers and other coaches and therapy and 1,000 other things that if you put it together, that's what it all amounts to, right? So why not just create a one-stop shop where they're getting their needs met, right? And you're including everything that you know that they're going to need. So if you know they all add on a deep dive, just add it to the package and just make it inclusive of it.
Right, because one of my clients just added on Voxer support for in-between support, and that could be part of the package too.
Yes. So let's talk about what is this offer, right? Like how many one-on-ones do they get?
3 a month.
Okay. So could we make that 2 a month with Voxer support and then the deep dives? What's the structure?
I would say like 2 a year.
Right. So 2 calls a month, Voxer support in between, and 2 deep dives a year. So every 6 months they're getting another one, or when they're at the most crucial points in their life that they feel like they need it, right? So they do 2 of those a year, and that's their package. And maybe they also get like whatever you were going to include in the membership. So if there's videos for them to watch or trainings for them to be a part of, materials that they could be reading in their spare time, right? That could all be included as well. So it's just one package where they get everything.
I like that.
Isn't it easier?
That feels so good.
Awesome.
The issue is asking for that number.
Well, why is it an issue?
Well, it's not an issue. It's it just feels like it just feels like, oh, that's a lot to ask for.
Yes. Okay, so let me ask you this question. When your clients are growing, is it comfortable for them?
No.
Right. There's discomfort, right? And that's actually how they know they're growing, don't you think?
Uh-huh.
Yes. So I'm sure when you're working with your clients, you're challenging them to take risks. You're challenging them to move to the next step.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. So I'm going to challenge you in the same way.
That's why I'm here. Okay.
So I want you to put together this package. I want you to write down, right, everything that's included in it. And I want you to write down the $100,000 price. And if you want to do a payment plan, it could be like, what is that, $8,800 a month or something like that, which I like because that's infinity numbers.
Yes.
It goes with what you do. Maybe it's all eights, $8,888, right? A month.
Yes.
Or $100,000 up front for the year and everything that's included. And I want you to write down what you're going to say. And then the next time you speak to a potential client, you're going to tell them this price, and then you're just going to close your mouth. Don't justify it. Don't explain it. right? Don't assume that they can't pay it or that they'll be worried about paying it, right? Because we bring all of our stories to it in that moment and talk people out of it with our own limiting beliefs.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So, yes.
Okay. I can commit to doing that.
I love it. Let's go.
Next question.
Okay, I'm about to give you your homework, but tell me your next question.
How do I meet these people?
Yes.
Where are they? Like, I mean, obviously I've met people, so I do know somewhat of where they are, but do you have any thoughts on where I can connect with these women?
Yes. So, first of all, use the podcast as
Yep.
the tool, right? To drive, because these women are going to be Googling things late at night, right? They're thinking about these problems in the crevices of their day when they have a second to themselves. And so when they Google, you want them to find you, and that's going to come from consistent content. So creating that podcast and making sure you're speaking into their soul, that the titles of every episode speaks to exactly where they are, the more that you could do that, the more that you're going to be findable for those people, right? And then the beautiful thing is, for your current clients, you can say, hey, I have, I'm relaunching my podcast. I'm speaking exactly to clients just like you. And will you share it with your friends? Now it's really easy, right, for them to share a free offer, right?
Yes.
And so now their friends are listening, they're getting a sense of who you are, and they're like, okay, I'm interested,
Yes.
And then create a pathway for them to talk to you. So maybe on the podcast, you send people to your download, and then after they download it, then they have the opportunity to do, a free intro call or something. And you can even have your coach doing that. You don't necessarily have to do it to qualify people before they get on with you, right? So are you seeing the makeup of the business now?
Yes.
Right? So like the key is, all right, what I'm doing every week, podcast, right? Every week. We've shortened how much you're working so that you're not doing 3 sessions a month, but 2 with each client, right? So now you've increased your capacity a little bit.
Yep.
So you're going to create the podcast weekly. And then from there, you're going to send people to the opt-in. Then you should have a nurture sequence following the opt-in that is going to have, invitations to a one-on-one with you or a one-on-one with your coach, like to just get that initial, let's do an assessment and see if you'd be a good fit. And then from there, those folks will become clients, right? And that's where the flow is going to come from. They're going to learn about you, be excited, and be like, I cannot wait to get on the phone, right? And they're going to get on the phone, and then they're going to opt in, right? And you're probably going to have so many calls booked. And I want you to just imagine that, right? Like you're going to have so many calls booked that people are going to be waiting a month just to get a one-on-one
Love
with
that. Yes.
you, And then the clients that you're currently serving, ask them to be on the podcast, ask them to share the podcast, right? Like bring them and let them be a part of it. And maybe they don't want to tell their whole story, right? Because it's very personal, but maybe there's some aspect of the story they'd be willing to tell on the podcast that will demonstrate what the work does for people.
Yeah.
And that's your new business model, and that's it. We're not building a membership. We're not doing any of this other stuff. Whatever these 2 business entities are, bring them into one, right? Because it's all the one thing. And remember, too, that you are the power source of the brand right now. You can slowly remove yourself over time in the future, but right now, let's just keep you in it because you are the source of power today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, let you keep being the driver for now. And then after you hit 1 million, right? Like you can slowly start moving yourself out of there and also get yourself to make sure that you are only doing the thing that you do. So no admin work should be done by you, right? Like all of the parts of the podcast that are not you sitting in front of a camera or a microphone should not be done by you. So like get other people to do all of those parts so you can sit in your genius, because that is what drives revenue and impact for the business. Okay?
Yes.
So that's what you're going to do is like, you are the source, like you're the sun, right? And all the planets are like the team, right? That all, they do what they do really well, right? And they're going to support you. And then once you hit 1 million, then you can come back and we'll talk about scaling.
Okay. Okay, deal.
Let's shake on it.
Okay.
Was this helpful for you?
Super helpful. I feel like everything is more streamlined. I love the offer. Like that feels really good. And I'm excited to put it out there and not project my stuff onto them when I ask for it. The membership, not doing the membership right now feels uncomfortable because I did promise, but I am willing to make a change here.
Yes. Yes. And you're not saying no to it. You're actually just continuing R&D. right?
R&D.
Yes.
Research
and development. Right. You're continuing to work with people one-on-one, so you know exactly what to put into the membership, right? Like it'll just give you more information. So will the podcast, right? And then what happens is when you have that wait list and people are waiting a month for a one-on-one with you, that's when you launch the membership and say, all you folks on the wait list, I got something for you, right? And you see how then it's like everything is driving towards it and it feels easy versus building up a whole world around it.
Yes.
Right? When you still don't have what you want in the first place, which is like the full level of financial security that you could have, right? Like the next level of financial security that you're desiring.
Yes. Okay. I
Okay.
can do that.
Yes. Sometimes we just have to say no to an idea for now.
Which is so hard for me as a manifesting generator. I don't know if you follow human design.
I am too.
Okay.
So trust me, I have the same problem. But learning how to say no to the idea for now. Because not every idea is one that's worth fully realizing today.
Right.
We can still realize it, but let's just put it down so that we can focus because the funds are in the focus.
It's landing.
Awesome.
So thank you. I appreciate you just like not letting up on this. Like how I am, like the client that I met at ROI, she's like, Poe, you don't fuck around. Like, I'm very kind in my guidance, but I'm also really fierce and hold people to the thing. So I appreciate you doing that for me.
My pleasure. All right, y'all, that's a wrap for today. I hope you're fired up and ready to make some serious moves. Remember, you've got the power to earn more, work less, and build a life that's rich in every way. But none of that happens without action. So get out there, make it happen, and keep pushing for those $1 million moves. And listen, if today's episode lit a fire under you, hit that subscribe button, drop a review, and share this with your crew. Let's spread this message far and wide and keep leveling up together. Until next time, keep it real and keep it rich.
Hey, do you enjoy money? I do. If you want to make more money, then you need to join We Should All Be Millionaires, the club. Go to hello7.co/club to see everything you get once you become a member. hello7.co/club. In the club, we teach you how to maximize your earning potential, how to make better financial and business decisions, how to set up systems so that you're building wealth over time. We keep you focused on your financial and business goals, and we do fun activities throughout the year to keep you motivated. During our last money-making challenge, our club members earned a grand total of $3,519,262.66. Okay? $3.5 million as a community. That's a lot of money, y'all. If you want to get in on this, go to hello7.co/club and become a member.